Welcome to Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. Thank you for being with us. We have a really, really powerful show today about a woman having a voice. We all need that, and we're very lucky to have Devora Boroosan here with us today. She's a powerhouse, and we're really, really excited to have you here. So I'm going to just start with one. We go deep very fast here at the Ladies Talk Show. So I'm going to ask you a very, very deep question, which is, what is, like we're women are so frazzled and so busy, and where's our voice? Like, how do we get heard? How do we get have our husband understand us and connect with us? Where is our voice, and how do we amplify it or make it so that we're heard better?
So first, I want to use my voice to say thank you, Leah, for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank
Great.
you. How's a woman supposed to find her voice? I think the most important thing in a woman finding her voice is remembering that her voice is important. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions and our perspectives on things so that we should use our voice. It's all a matter of how and when, choosing our words carefully, choosing our tone carefully, and really focusing on what's actually important.
So I hear that, and I think a lot of women, like you're saying, they don't feel worthy or deserving to have their voice heard, but other ones are screaming their heads off and not being heard. Can you help
Well,
that out?
sure. Screaming will rarely make you get heard better. That's actually the best way to have somebody tune out. Um, but even if you're not talking literal screaming, just repeating and repeating and feeling like no matter how much they ask for something, they're not being heard, they're not understood. The things that are important to them are not important to their husband. So I think the question really is, how do you communicate when something is important to you? How do you communicate with acknowledgement? How do you communicate with respect? And how do you communicate with self-respect? Words cannot be taken back. Words can't be unheard. And it's really important when you say something to focus that what you're saying is actually what you're trying to say. And you're not just venting. We have friends for venting. We have mirrors for venting. We have paper and pen for venting. Our husbands are not the places that we should vent. Every interaction we have is important. My mother used to tell us every day of building is a continuation of the strengthening in your life, and every miscommunication takes time to repair. Do you really want to spend your life in repair? I'd much rather spend my life building. So let's talk about how we can use our voice in a way that we can be heard.
Okay, I'm ready. Give us step by step. Let's hear.
Okay, so I think when I would want to start in the first place, I would want to always tell ladies to breathe. Think about what it is that you want to say. Think about what it is that's important, and is now the good time to talk? And you can laugh, but when's the best time to talk to your husband if it's something that's really important? Well, not when he's hungry, not when he's thirsty, not when he's tired, not when he's going to school, not when he's going to work, not when he's coming home from work, not when you're frazzled, not when you have kids who need you. So what kind of time does that actually leave you? When are you actually supposed to speak to your husband where you can get heard? Right? So it's really a good idea, if it's something important that you have to talk about, to almost like make a date. Say, you know what, I really need to talk to you. If it's something that's really important, something I want to talk to you about, I need about, and give a time limit always, I need about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is. Is there a time that you can find time? Can it be tonight? Can it be tomorrow if it's necessary? So when you have that, you have a time where you're able to pull together the thoughts that you want to say. He's able to get himself prepared from all the distractions that are out there. You're able to get yourself prepared for all the distractions that might come up. And you can actually have a bonding, connecting communication about something that's actually important. Now, important doesn't mean life altering. Important can just mean important to you.
Can you give some examples? Because I'm thinking, like, if I was a husband and I heard that, I'd go, "Oh no, what's she gonna bring up? She needs a half an hour." How do you do it in a way that they're not like, "Oh my God, get away," roll the eyes. What?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I hear that. It's like being called in the principal's office. Principal
Right.
wants you. Oh no, what's he going to do for you? Out comes that little girl, right? But we're adults. So the first thing we want to know is that we can discuss with our husband, you know what? We haven't had this chance to communicate or share whatever it is that we need to share. There's a lot you would love to be able to talk to me about, and there's a lot I'd be able to talk to you about. We never really have a chance. I have an idea. maybe we can set up times that we can talk about something instead of it being a set time because our lives are constantly evolving and busy. Maybe if there's something one of us has to talk about, we can suggest an amount of time where we can talk and set up a time and set it up nice. Why not make it a
But
time?
also, you could say, it's about where the kids' summer camp, or it's about,
Absolutely. You could
which
say it's
car
about the
we're going to
kids'
get.
summer camp. It's
Yeah,
about my
something.
concerns about this child. It's
Right.
my concerns about, whether the house has enough room for us these days, etc. You could
Exactly.
certainly say what it's about. Um, and that really depends on your husband and how long you're married. In a newer marriage, I find often that the fact that you're going to talk about something actually is like anxiety producing because, okay, now they have to walk in with all the answers ahead. Well, you don't want the answers ahead. You want communication. You want to be able to be heard.
Mhm.
Remember, that's what we're talking about, having our voice be heard. So, sometimes you want to say what it's about. And sometimes you want to say, I'm just looking for support. And remember, you always want to ask for what you're looking for. If you're looking for a solution, how many women just need to talk to their husbands and their husbands go and give them a solution? They're like, I don't want an answer. I just want support. I just want love. I just want you to back me and tell me it's all going to be okay. Well, he's not a mind reader.
Mm.
Ask him, tell him ahead of time what you need. I need support. I need just to talk things through with you and just get my head straight. Do you think you'll be available at that time?
Can I just ask you a question? Because I think a lot of women don't know, tell them what you need. What if you don't know what you need? You know what I'm saying? Like you're at that place and it's like you feel like venting and you're upset about something. What you really need, maybe after 10 years of introspection, you'll be able to say, I realized that yesterday when so and so said this to me, it hurt my feelings and made me feel lonely, and you'll be able to. But if you're not at that place and you're just upset, so how do you have some advice on how, you're saying this is to not just express your voice but to find the voice to begin with.
That's a real avoda. It
Mhm.
really is because it takes real introspection to understand where you're coming from and what you need. And sometimes, no matter how much you think about it, you don't really know what you need because if you know what you need, you would be able to reach out and ask for it. So sometimes, really, all you're asking for is, can I have your ear? I need an extra ear. I need an extra hand. I need to just run some thoughts by you. I'm having feelings. I'm having feelings about feelings, and I'm not quite sure what they're all about. Can you help me think these through? And one of the things I love about that approach, and I'm so happy you asked about it, is it really shows a lot of trust. It's really leaning into your husband when you do that. You're letting him know you are important to me, and the words that you have to say hold a tremendous amount of importance to me, and I respect them, and I want your input. And
Mm.
that alone is very strengthening to the bond in marriage.
Yeah, it's good.
Such a
All
gorgeous
the
introduction. We have questions. Can I ask a question?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Sure.
knew there was
Okay.
a song
So
coming up.
Rachel's asking, how do we keep our voice gentle and kind when we are highly emotional if our husband hurt us?
What do you mean if our husband hurt us? I didn't understand that
They're
last part.
offended.
Oh, hurt us. I thought you said hurt us. I'm like, oh, that's good. He heard you. Okay, hurt. The husband hurt us, and you're all emotional. Okay, go ahead.
That's an excellent question. When somebody's feeling hurt, what tends to happen is they go outside of the way that they would normally approach something and they go straight into the emotion. And what lands up happening then is you don't even actually say what it is that you want to say. And so I find it really helpful. In other words, you're responding with the emotion. You hurt me. I can't believe you just did that. Well, that's not what the conversation's about. It's not that I can't believe you just did that. It's that I just asked you X, Y, and Z, and I want to know that you heard me. So, how do you communicate that underlying message since that's distinctly feminine talk? That's actually not talk. If you were to use those words, your husband would look at you like, huh? Well, I don't even get what you're saying, right? So I think it's really important that a person, before they go into a conversation, again, we're talking about conversations that you've thought about ahead. We can get into afterwards just conversations, general conversations that come up, or responses or reactions to things. But when it's a real conversation that you put some time into, you really want to think ahead what's going to center me. And everybody has something that centers them. right? Whether it's a mantra, whether it's a song, whether it's a breathing technique, whether it's a motion with their fingers, whether it's stopping to go take a drink of water. You know, the story of the Chafetz Chaim who would go and get his hat from the, the top shelf of the front closet. Everybody needs that space to breathe and find exactly what it is that centers them so
So
that
can
they
you
don't.
explain what you mean by centers them? And can you also give examples of how women find what centers them?
Oh, absolutely. Centering means I'm not running away with emotion. There's a big disconnect between my seichel and my emotion. And when there's a disconnect between seichel and emotion, what comes out is unclear communication. Most often, what comes out is things you wish you hadn't said in the first place and you wish you could take back, but you can't because they were already said. So, what you want to try and do at that point is find the thing that makes you feel like you can breathe. Because when you can breathe, oxygen gets to your brain and you can think clearly. And when you can think clearly, you remember the man I'm talking to is the man I love. It's the man I have a family with. It's the man I want to build a future with. I don't want to say anything that is going to be disrespectful to our relationship. This isn't about him or me. This is about our relationship. And that's why I want to be heard. So that's a big, long answer to a few seconds of an
Well, the
action. So that
center.
action could be
Yeah.
breathing. That
But
action,
how do you find that? How does a woman find that and figure that out for herself?
close your eyes and think about what makes you feel good.
Okay,
What
good.
makes you connected to Hashem? What brings the smile to your face? We all know we can't do it ourselves. What makes you feel connected to Hashem? I have a pasuk I go to all the time. I'll tell you personally. I have a pasuk I go to. The pasuk I go to is Es panecha Hashem avakesh. Shema Hashem kolei akra chaneni v'aneni ki lecha amar li avakshu panai. Why? Because I
Can you
don't always have
translate
the
for our
word.
people? Can you translate?
Yes, absolutely. It means Hashem, I'm asking for your presence. I'm asking for, literally speaking, for your face. Because you said to me, if you need anything, ask for me and I'll be there. And why is that centering for me? That's centering for me because a lot of times I don't have the words for my emotion. I am a highly emotional person. A lot of times I don't have the words for my emotion. And I'm not quite sure what it is I'm looking for. I just know I'm looking for something. But if I lean into Hashem, then I can be comfortable with myself. And then I can lean into my husband. And then he could be there for me. And then it's not about me anymore. It's about us. And he is there for me. And for me, that's the most centering feeling in the world, knowing that he's there for me. That my
Beautiful. Ladies,
husband
get
is there for me.
heads up. That's going to be the homework. So we'll get there. Okay.
There you
It's
go.
good, Valda. Okay, so
Beautiful. Okay, Hannah Kayla's asking, my husband gets annoyed that I speak so much to my friends and sisters and not enough to him, but I'm nervous that if I complain, he'll think I'm unhappy. If I tell him I'm upset, he'll give me unwanted solutions. I always thought it was better to speak to friends over our husband, but he's just not happy with this.
It's something that comes up all the time. Generally, we're used to speaking to women. Women are safe spaces. Friendships with women are very different than friendships with men. And so we do tend to talk to our friends. But there's different things that we talk to our friends and we talk to our husbands about. And let me add one more thing on before we talk about what those things are. I think it's really important to know that there are times that are specifically and only for speaking to your husband. In other words, your husband walks in the house. That's when you say on the phone, oh, my husband's home. Talk to you later. Bye. And you hang up because your husband now came in the house and he deserves your attention. If there's something that's really on your mind and you're not sure how to bring it up with your husband, it's not one of a personal nature, I would always suggest you talk to a friend or a close sibling beforehand, or a parent if there's one who you feel good about and you trust, because you want to choose your words carefully if it's something that's really important. If it's not something that's really important, or if it's something that just comes up, or if it's something that you share together, whether it's something that you saw, an attitude, a reaction to something, a worry that you have about children, a dream, a goal, share it with your husband first. You deserve it and he deserves it. Your relationship deserves it. Now, you'll see that I say that a lot. Your relationship deserves it. You have to bring a whole person into a marriage in order for a marriage to be successful. And that's why it's so important to remember that we need to use our voice properly, because what we have to say is important. On the other hand, when we're talking, it's not about us. It's about the relationship. It's always about the marriage. That Kedusha and that communication will always hold you. It will cradle whatever it is you need to say if it's pure. Because once it's about you, we go into really negative circular self-talk. He never listens to me. He never takes me seriously. I keep trying. This is the 6th time I've brought this up. He's not listening, right? Each time that's going to come up. And we're not even going to be able to clarify what it is that we want to say, because we've actually stopped talking to him. We're back in conversation with ourselves. But if we
how do you cowbosh that? I mean, how do you stop that? Because that's such a knee-jerk reaction. Like, it's a habit from 20 years. So how is a woman supposed to like undo? Like, that seems impossible. It's like, okay, that's a mountain I can't climb. Forget it. I'm just keeping the way I already am.
Leah, that is a habit from the time we are little. That's a habit our entire lives. We want to be heard. We want to be understood. You know, it's said that the hardest midah to work on is kas, is anger, is the hardest character trait to work on. And the hardest character trait to build is listening. To really, truly be present and listen to what's being said to you. And means to take all those thoughts, put them aside. And it's really hard for a woman to compartmentalize. It's much easier for a man to do so. And that's why when you put the focus on, why am I having this conversation with this person at this time? That's always the most important thing. This is about my marriage. And so I'm going to listen. And when I hear him say, I didn't like when you, or when you said that, I was insulted, or you spoke to me in a way that was disrespectful in front of the children, or I was embarrassed when you spoke this way at the Shabbos table, don't respond right away. Take a minute to listen. What's he saying? He's saying, I'm hurt, I'm insulted, I'm embarrassed. Whatever it is that he's saying, I'm angry even. He's entitled to feelings the same way we're entitled to feelings. Listen. As soon as you actually really listen to what it is that he's saying, like really hear what he's saying, what naturally follows is compassion. I'm so sorry you were hurt. That's not what I meant. I'm so sorry it came off that way. Which will give him an opportunity to say, well, then why did you say it? Or it'll give you an opportunity to say, what I really meant was, and I'm sorry it came off in a way that wasn't hurtful. And what you've actually done is, through this interaction, you've actually come closer into something that could have grown bigger and bigger and bigger. Easily, it could have spiraled out of control, because when somebody's feeling heightened emotions, it's really, really hard, and vice versa. So when you have a conversation with your husband and he right away answers back in a defensive way, tell him, I want to hear what you have to say. I really do. I want to hear what you have to say, because I love you and I respect you, and I know that you wouldn't have done it to hurt me. But first, I want you to hear how I feel. Hold that feeling for a minute and ask him. And he's going to say, what does it mean to hold that feeling? I don't even know what that means. Because that's very feminine, feminine speak. You're going to ask him, I really just want you to hear how it is that I feel, and try and imagine, if you were in my place, how that felt. I know you didn't mean badly. Being done l'tavschus, assuming that the person did not do this maliciously, assuming that your husband has not done it to hurt you, is such an important first step that helps you remember, not only am I doing this for a relationship, but I'm doing this with somebody who wants for my best. And when I believe that he wants for my best, then I can breathe and listen to what's going on.
It's true. That's a tough place to get to. We have so many more questions. I want to get to the next question,
Okay.
but that is a tough place to get to, of in other words, when a woman has so many examples in a row of her husband doing things that seem like they're malicious and volitional, insults or hurting, I think that would be a hard thing to leap. Do you have any standing on one foot quick answer?
Standing on one foot quick, everything that's going to seem malicious is going to seem malicious because people have behavior patterns. And most likely, if it's happened once and you're paying attention to it, it's because you've been triggered, because it's happened 16, 18 times already, and you've come to a point where you can't keep it inside anymore. So remembering that it's not malicious is such an important first step, because the minute you give it a little bit more thought and you take it to the next step, there's no way you're going to be able to remind yourself that it wasn't meant selfishly, it wasn't meant maliciously, it wasn't meant, I had a client I was speaking to, and they were saying with their husband there that he has a very stingy nature. And I said, a stingy nature. Describe to me what stingy means. She said, stingy means all he thinks about is money for himself. I said, tell me, where does his money go to? What's he working for? How's he doing? Is he stingy? Or do you have different views on money? In other words, when you put yourself in the place of understanding that you're allies, you're partners, you're on a team, you're there for each other, the whole perspective is different. And the exact same behavior can be looked at from two different sides. From one side, from a hurt perspective, it looks stingy. But from a global perspective of relationship, it looks like we need to have a conversation about our views on finances. Am I looking more for short term or long term? What's important to me? What's important to you? And let's have a conversation so that we can work towards this goal together and not be arguing. And that's where that relationship becomes important. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Gila. What's the next one?
So nice. Okay, Alana's asking, my husband gets so defensive when I approach him. I'm not even an attacking type of wife. I find it so hard to express myself to him. Can you help me figure out how to approach him in a way he won't get defensive?
Great question. I love these questions. They're fantastic because they're so real. I get them every single day. Hey, I have them myself loads of times. I'm just as human as you are, right? I work hard on being a good wife too. I think that husbands become defensive very, very quickly. And that's because all a husband really wants is to make his wife happy. He wants to know that his hard work pays off and he's making his wife happy. And guess what? Sometimes we're not happy, and it has absolutely nothing to do with him. But that's not how it lands on him. It lands on him that you had a tough day and you waited all day so that you could tell him how tough your day was, and it's his fault. And he should have made it better, even though most likely it has absolutely nothing to do with him. It was hard. You were overtired. You didn't sleep. The kids were impossible. They were all arguing. You were supposed to be on a phone call. You couldn't be on a phone call. You forgot while you were on that phone call because you ran late that you really had PTA. And then your teacher's kid called. And then another kid threw up and you didn't even make it to school for the first thing. And you got to run to school and be back in time for the next kid. And this is life. This is the way things work. And it has absolutely nothing to do with him. And that's why, again, when you're focused on the relationship and you're saying, okay, he's getting defensive because he cares about me. So where are you going to go with that? What would you say with that? You could say, it was a tough day today, and I'm so happy that you're home and I get a chance to share it with you, because just sharing it with you makes me feel better. Let him know that he is precious in the same way that you want to know that you're precious. In the same way that we want to know that we're cherished. In the same way that when he wants to say something, he doesn't want judgment right away. He doesn't want defensiveness right away. But you can't say, well, I wasn't defensive last time we spoke. What are you being defensive for, right? I'm only asking you to listen to me, which is what so many wives would say. And then it becomes an argument. Why let it be an argument when it actually is no issue that you have with him? He's defensive about something. You're like, okay, wait a second. You're right. That didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Can we do a replay? And then reword it again so that there's no way that he can be defensive. Take charge. I believe that women are so powerful in a relationship, and that we have the ability, because our husbands want so much to see us happy. We are so powerful. We have so much say in the direction a relationship goes. All we have to do is change our tone, change the tilt of our head, go down a little bit quieter so they move in quiet. They move a little closer to hear what we have to say. Smile and mean it. Mean it. This is the face of the person you love. This is the face of a person you share a life with. Smile and mean it. You know, again, I go back to my mother. My very wise mother used to say to me sometimes, I love you so much. I just don't like you very much right now.
Wait, Devora, I have to tell you that Rivka Malka said your mother used to say, I don't just love you, I like you.
She used to say that too when we would do something that she loved. That vulnerability, that honesty, that transparency of, I don't just love you, I like you, or I love you, but I don't like you right now, is so important, because both to our children and to our spouses, it reminds them that they're not perfect and we're not perfect. And that this concept of I'm in love with you every second and every single thing you do is amazing isn't real. We're two completely different human beings with different backgrounds, different experiences, different lens that we look through life, different perspectives, and we're supposed to agree with each other all the time. It's not humanly possible. That's not a real relationship. It means somebody's not being honest.
Right. I want to go to the next question, but I also want to point out I don't know a husband could hear a wife saying, I think it's adorable with a mother and daughter and whatever. But a husband could hear a wife saying, I love you, but I don't like you very much. I don't think that'll work on your husband. I just want to make that a clear differentiation so people would get that. I think it might.
No. It's that you wouldn't say directly to your
Yeah.
husband, but that idea of I'm hurt right now, or I need you to listen to me right now. I'm begging you. I'm asking you. Hear what I have to say. I love you. I'm here. But this is more, you asked me, how do you build it up in your mind? How do you get to that place where you're able to not respond when he gets defensive?
Mhm.
That's the thought process. The thought process says, I love you, but I don't like you so much right now, and I want to make friends again.
Yeah.
That's the
Gewaldig.
thought process.
Gewaldig. Okay, go
Beautiful.
to the
Thanks
next
for
question.
that clarification. And also, I guess it's just viewing the person as a whole, and just this one little part. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we have time for one more question.
One more question. So Yehudis is asking, I have a habit of saying things I regret. I feel like I've bashed my husband down so much that he doesn't bother fighting back. I feel terrible, and this is making me realize how much I've crushed him through the years. What can I do now to bring him up and rebuild his trust? Gorgeous question. So vulnerable.
Such a
Thank
gorgeous
you.
question, and so painful when I meet with these men who are these couples where the man is so emasculated from a strong wife with a quick tongue, and they have so much to offer that their wife is losing out on. And yes, it happens the other way also, of course. But right now we're talking to the women. Women, if you know that you have a quick tongue, if you know that you're not good at finding this perspective, or centering yourself quickly before you have a chance to jump out, or keeping the perspective, number one, don't give up hope. Don't give up on yourself or on your relationship, because it takes time to practice to become that person. It really does. I'm making it sound all easy. It's not so easy. It takes a lot of practice. And the second thing you want to do is you want to talk to your husband at a time where you're not in the middle of arguing, and say, I'm really realizing that sometimes I jump on you and I really don't mean to, and I want to take back what I said and I can't. I want to make some kind of, I want you to make some kind of motion to me. Maybe it's something like this. Maybe it's a word, some kind of sign that lets me know that I'm spiraling out of control here a little bit, that I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. And I'm going to see this, because we're going to make this up ahead. And I've used this on many couples. And they step back for a minute, and I'll go for a breather, and then we can continue this conversation. And it's a really helpful tool that gets used from people constantly. And it really works. And again, you have to know your husband. Is he so caught up that he's not noticing if you touch your nose, wiggle your ear? That could be. Maybe he's somebody who needs to say, God, we need a minute. You know yourself. If you're somebody who gets carried away and you're not even seeing things, you're seeing black spots and anger, and your body is moving, and you're all there, you can have him say a word that will remind you. Just anything, and it should dafka not be something. It's an emotional word, not something that says gentle or calm down, but something that you make up specifically for this, something ridiculous, something like warthogs, or
Passion fruit.
ice cream cone,
Or the word passion fruit.
passion fruit.
There you go.
There you go. Love it.
So you're saying that that having, it's thinking ahead of what the triggers are and what your own inability to control your lack of self-mastery, for better or for worse, that
Right.
you have a way to snap yourself out of that.
I think that marriage doesn't come with an instruction booklet. And we don't have lots of time to think about, before we get married, how we're going to do what we're going to do. We have 9 months for a baby, 10 months really. We have for a baby, right? Well, we're preparing, and what are we going to do? And do we have the diapers ready? And do we have the crib ready? We don't have that for marriage because you don't really know what it feels like. You haven't practiced on anybody else usually. And so you don't necessarily know what that feels like. And even if you have been married before, it's different with every single person. You're not the same couple. And so you're really learning on the job. And if you mindfully prepare, and I think that's the theme of using your voice, is mindfully prepare to use your voice in the most effective way. I never tell a woman, don't say what's on your mind. I say, always say what's on your mind. Say it at the right time and in the right way, and then you will be heard.
Baruch Hashem, that was beautiful. Okay, give us the homework. The homework about finding a way to center yourself. That's going to be the homework. So this week they're going to just correct me if I'm wrong. They're going to figure out what makes them happy. They're going to close their eyes and just sort of sit in a moment, find a time to do it, and then think about what they can use as their centering tool ongoingly. Is that?
Yes, and centering is not necessarily what makes you happy. Sometimes centering is what calms you down.
So one of those.
One of those things, something that makes you feel one with your body, where you start breathing again.
Right.
When
Okay.
you see your breathing is back to normal, you can talk.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you so much, Devora, for being with us. And wow, it's really, really powerful thoughts that you have, and giving a woman her voice. How gorgeous is that? And this is Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. Don't forget to do your homework. That could really make your future just that much calmer, and your communication and your ability to have your voice be heard. If I made sense. Okay, thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see everybody next week. It's Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show.